I think one of the things the Republicans have been very effective at, certainly with their own supporters, is there's nothing Trump is doing that Biden hasn't already done, or even worse, which I don't find personally compelling when you do the research and the facts. I think a lot of what Trump represents is unprecedented, but I think that message has really resonated well with the voters, especially in a very divided media space, algorithmically, and network and cable and the rest. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I certainly, certainly with respect to expanding executive power and wielding it with a lot of purpose. I think part of what's happening, and I've not seen data on this, but I'm increasingly of the view that people look at Washington and they look at politics with just derision, and what they see is a completely dysfunctional, broken system. Congress can't even pass bills to spend money. I mean, that's just how bad it's gotten. And when they see Trump, whether they like specifically what he's doing or not, and it may have been this way with President Biden if you were a Democrat, here's somebody taking decisive action to address problems that everybody knows are problems, and they look at Washington, they look at the political culture that's just not able to do anything. And I think, people often say eyes follow motion. Here's a guy who's constantly doing things, constantly putting points on the board. You may not like the points that he's putting on the board, but he's a guy who's getting stuff done. And that is something that I think people have longed to see more happen in Washington. Incidentally, if Democrats ever take the White House back, and you have to assume that someday they will, I assume they'll do the same thing.
So this raises a challenging question, because on the one hand, having a strong leader makes it easier to win an election. On the other hand, that leader is occasionally saying things that are not only imprecise, but that can cause outcomes that clearly you and many of my other Republican friends are deeply uncomfortable with. So I'm wondering to what extent that you, and perhaps more importantly, all of the Republican leaders that you advise, do you feel like they are constrained in a way that is uncomfortable for them? Do you feel that they are not able to speak their mind on issues that they really would rather to help ensure that the Republican Party reflects a party that they want to be part of, that they're proud of, those sorts of things?
Yeah. Well, I would say it is almost since time immemorial that when your party has the White House and you're in Congress, you support the party line. I mean, that was true. Very, very few times did I ever hear any Democrat say anything critical of President Obama. So that's not an unusual phenomenon. I do think that Republicans and others who wish the success of this administration do find avenues to express concerns about particular policy issues, and they just do it inside the tent. And I think that, with this president, that's an especially preferred approach than doing it publicly. So I think there are outlets for that. But then you kind of take your question more broadly. I do think at some point between now and next year, there's going to be a dividend that the voters will pay to a public leader who stands up and says, we just need to turn the temperature down here. But the other dynamic that you have that is the political driver, and you have this on the Democratic side, you have it on the Republican side, is that both bases want to fight. They want to fight. They are mistrustful of the other side. I mean, your average far left Democrat thinks that every Republican is a Nazi or a fascist. Well, fascist is now the new term of art. And every Republican on that far right fringe views the left as basically incorrigible traitors. I mean, that's the energy underneath it all. And so you've got people on both sides saying we just really, really need to fight.
I don't think, you and I know a lot of Americans in common across the political spectrum. I can't think of many people in those groups who consider the opposition to be fascist or traitors. But I do think that that's the way the leaders are framing it.
Well, I don't know that that's a leadership level message. I don't hear that from the president. Sort of this broad brush there that way. I don't hear that from Minority Leader Jeffries or Minority Leader Schumer. Although every once in a while Schumer does have an ungoverned moment of rhetoric. But for the most part, leadership is about attenuating that. You've got to. Obviously, you're leading a party on either side. You're leading a base on either side. But I think the American public writ large wants leaders who at some point are constructive, unifying, even as they're prosecuting a strong agenda.